and welcome to Making Music. My name is Dan Aronie, and I will be your host this week. We are going to do something a little bit different. We have now been on the show, and Making Music has been for 2 years now, and we wanted to bring you a few highlight films from the last 2 years. We're going to start with one of my favorite interviews with Y&T. Dave Manikenny and John Nyman joined us, and for just some fun talk about a band from the East Bay, self-promoting themselves, and they were just a blast to be with that day. So here, let's go on and talk to Dave.
Well, when I very first started playing guitar, I was 16. It's kind of late, by most people's standards.
Were you taking lessons at the beginning?
I did. I took about 2 or 3 lessons. And the guy came over one day after, like the 3rd lesson, and he's like, "Did you learn your scales?" And I didn't know him. But I was doing like, and he goes, "How did you learn to do that? What were you doing, the stretch and string thing?" And I said, "I don't know. I was just messing around." And, and he heard me play some more, and he said, "Maybe you should just, learn on your own." I think he was a little frustrated with me. But he could also tell that I was, learning a lot of stuff, sort of doing things myself. So.
Yeah, but you don't automatically turn into someone who's just stretching strings to doing what you were doing with the albums. And
I know. That's my entire life. I don't know what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And
I don't believe that. Behind us, we're seeing
my sister was dating this guy that knew Herbie Herbert. Right, and this didn't happen because of her, but just was a weird backstory later on, that she remembers going into Herbie's place, and Herbie was playing him this new band that he was putting together, Journey, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Listen to this guitar player, Neil Shaw, and he is amazing. Nobody's like this." And my sister goes, "My brother plays as good as that." and Herbie's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And here it was a year later, and Herbie had found out about me through somebody else. Right. Somebody had taken a first demo tape that we had put together, and went into the city and found out, "Oh, these are the guys," and he hyped us up and said we, put our guitars on fire and did all these kind of, it was all BS, but just the same. Right. He's like, I gotta see these guys just for fun, because I think he was just gonna laugh.
Now, were you calling yourself Y&T or Yesterday and Today?
We were Yesterday and Today.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he came out to a show, because we used to put our own shows on. We were kind of revolutionary in that way, that we'd go out to like these the halls, the local halls, whatever, the union halls or something like that. We'd rent it for $100
and sell the tickets yourself.
Yeah, we'd sell the tickets ourselves.
Yeah, no middleman.
Yeah, we'd put up flyers at the high school
right.
and say, "Hey, kegger party," whatever. But we would pack the places, and we would start doing original material. So we. All of a sudden started becoming this popular local band, at least, sort of in the East Bay area. Yeah. And so when Herbie shows up and his partner Lou, we're playing this little dinky, Weeks Park, community center place. I think it holds like about 200 people or something.
Max.
And there were, tons of people outside, and it was just crazy stuff. But they saw us play, and they were like, "Oh my God, these guys are a trip." Yeah. So and then it was about, I guess, 6 months later they ended up signing us to a deal, and it was just us and Journey with them for a couple of years, and we played.
So you were touring with Journey at the time?
Well, we were both managed by them, and we were constantly hanging. We were constantly playing shows together. Yeah. We probably did something like 30 or 40 shows within the next 2 years or so together, and buddied up.
We are back. If you're just joining us, we are Making Music, and we're doing some highlight films of the last 2 years. We have over 100 shows, and if you ever want to see any, and you've seen some of the shows and you'd like to replay them, come into Guitar Showcase, 3090 South Bascom Ave in San Jose. We have the DVDs. They're no charge. Now, our second interview was with Peter Grant, a great musician from the Bay Area. He started and went to San Jose State University. He played with Jerry Garcia. He was a staff musician on Dallas, Dynasty, Falcon's Crest, and Knots Landing for 10 years. So whenever you saw those TV shows and they had musicians in the background, Peter was invariably one of those musicians. And also, he played with Hoyt Axton for several years and toured with him. And we have a great tape showing Peter playing pedal steel.
Oh, well, we're going to go. You brought some pictures along. And we want to, and each one tells a little story. So we're going to get these pictures brought up on the screen.
Now
tell us about
my
this
first
one.
electric guitar.
Yeah.
And growing hair to Beatle length, and first a Fender Jazzmaster.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And it looks, I'm going to guess, by looking at it, 1962-ish, 1963?
63.
Yeah.
That'd be 63.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, there's the.
Tell us about this one.
That's a band called Weird Harold. I was for a very short time. I was in that band. It was a local San Jose band. That was after I was in People. I was in People for a while. I played bass for People. While Robbie had mononucleosis.
Killer. Now, what is that prop? Now, tell me, what's the prop in that picture? It looks like a spaceship a little bit, but I can't really tell.
We might have been abducted at that point. It could be, but it was somewhere up in San Francisco. We went on a photo shoot. Cowtown! I played at Cowtown for 3 years, 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
And there's Pete Grant, Hoyt Henry, Roy McMeans, Linda Henson, Don Cox, and Greg Coben. Greg Coben is a son of the late Cy Coben, who wrote not only Sweet Violets, but he wrote Good Woman's Love and a bunch of other great songs.
And of course, Don Cox was very famous. Cowtown
was
years and years and
exactly.
years. And he was the mainstay there, and boy, what a lot of great tunes out of there.
Yeah, so I left that band and immediately joined the Hoyt Axton Band, and we can go on from that picture to the next one. I think we can.
This picture is?
That's me and Hoyt, and there's I'm in the middle there, and that's probably at the Palomino Club.
Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Dan Aronie, and this is Makin Music, and we're reviewing a couple years of shows that we've put on. Our third interview was with Scotty Osbourne, an Ozzy Osbourne impersonator. And Jeremy Up and myself joined Scotty for an interview, and he had some great insight into the life and times of Ozzy Osbourne.
And we wanted to call the band Speak of the Devil after the Ozzy album that came out once again in the 80s, where Ozzy was playing Black Sabbath songs. And we thought it was just perfect. We could play Black Sabbath music, we could play Ozzy music, we could play whatever we wanted to, and people would just love it.
Now, we got some pictures that we're going to bring up on the screen.
We do.
And let's get those. And tell us a little bit about them
as
they come up. Here we go.
All right, that's me. All right, that's me on the left. This is one of the very, very first shows that Speak of the Devil ever played. The very nice gentleman on the right side is Mr. Brad Gillis. Brad Gillis, a sweetheart of a man, guitar player for Night Ranger, also the guitar player for Ozzy. After Randy Rhoads was tragically killed, Brad Gillis joined the tour and finished the 1982 tour with Ozzy. And I was on my way to the show, and I got a call from the booking agent, and she said, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Well, I'm in my car, so of course I'm driving and sitting down." She said, "Brad Gillis is here, he wants to play with you." I said, "It's not nice to tease me that way because, you shouldn't do that." And she said, "No, really, Brad wants to play a couple songs and wants to know if it's all right and if your guitar player would mind if he just played some songs." I said, "Well, I'm going to have to break my guitar player's arms so Brad can get up and play as long as he wants to." Luckily, we didn't have to do any of the arm breaking. Our guitar player, Ken Sabbath, excellent musician, gladly gave his guitar to Brad, and Brad played Symptom of the Universe, Crazy Train, and Paranoid with it. It was a fantastic moment in my life, and that's a great picture. The expression on my face says it all.
And we've all heard that. Well, maybe a lot of people in the audience have not heard about the Bat story or the Alamo, but I never knew about the Bat story until about a week ago. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
I'd be happy to. I'm happy to tell the story because it's not about me. Now, I tried to emulate Ozzy as best I can, you see, but there's some things I just won't do. And public urination or biting the heads off of flying rodents are up there with things I draw the line on. Won't do it. The Bat story is that on stage, Ozzy was playing a concert and somebody threw up a bat onto the stage, and Ozzy thought it was plastic or fake or whatever it was, and ran over and just picked it up, and Ozzy, being Ozzy, just snatched it in his teeth and snatched the head off it and threw it back, and Sharon is on the side of the stage going, "You idiot, it's real." So he had to go through a series of rabies shots, and it was just terrible. But you know what they say, there's no such thing as bad press. Any press is good. And here we are all these years later, still talking about Ozzy biting the head off a bat and urinating on the Alamo. And it's just wonderful stories.
Yeah, he did that. I don't think that's his real, he did that for shock value. And it definitely worked.
I think he did it because he was inebriated. I think he was just so drunk that the Alamo story came from that Sharon used to have to lock him into the hotel rooms because Ozzy would just get so ripping drunk and just wander around.
She would take all of his clothes
She would
away,
take all of his clothes.
Yeah.
So he didn't have anything to wear, but he wanted to go on a little walkabout. So he only grabbed a green dress that Sharon had left in the closet. And he went for a nice walk, you see. And I understand he had a bottle of Courvoisier. And while he was walking around, he felt the urge that he had to take care of some personal business and found a nice old-looking building. He thought he'd go around the corner and
he didn't even realize what it was.
Oh, he's from Birmingham. He doesn't know what the Alamo is. He wouldn't know, and he just thought nobody would notice. It's an old building, and next thing you know, police say, "Excuse me, sir, when you're done, can you step over here?" And they arrested him. It's a wonderful story.
It's amazing that the police were there at the same time that he was doing it. It's like, were they like circling the place or something?
I wouldn't be surprised. If you saw a man that looked like Ozzy Osbourne walk out of a hotel room in a green dress carrying a bottle of Courvoisier, if you were a police officer, you would follow him too.
You got a good point there.